Welcome back to our channel, the ultimate destination for rare coin enthusiasts, collectors, and treasure hunters who are always looking for that one incredible discovery that could change their lives forever. Because today we are diving into one of the most mind-blowing stories in the world of coin collecting, the tale of the 1995 D. Lincoln 1-cent coin that's been making waves for its astonishing estimated value of $109 million. A single small copper-plated zinc penny that has captured global attention not because of its face value of just 1 cent, but because of a series of rare minting errors, striking anomalies, and mysterious production inconsistencies that make it one of the most valuable coins ever to exist. So if you've ever thought about checking your pocket change, coin jars, or old boxes of pennies tucked away in drawers, this is definitely the story that might convince you to look again, because hidden among those ordinary coins could be a piece of American minting history worth more than a mansion, a yacht, and a supercar combined. And the 1995 D penny proves just how incredible the world of numismatics can be when an ordinary mistake turns into an extraordinary treasure. Now the Denver Mint in 1995 was operating at full capacity, striking billions of Lincoln cents to keep up with national circulation demands, using copper-plated zinc planchets that had replaced the traditional bronze composition back in 1982, and while most of these pennies were struck perfectly, following the Mint's strict quality control procedures, every once in a while something went unexpectedly wrong deep within the minting process, resulting in a few remarkable errors that would later baffle experts and electrify collectors across the country. And the 1995 D cent that's rumored to be worth $109 million is believed to be one such incredible specimen, showcasing multiple minting mistakes combined in such an unusual way that it creates a one-of-a-kind coin unlike anything else known to exist. A combination so rare that even the most experienced numismatists agree it's something that probably shouldn't have been possible under normal minting conditions. And yet here it is, a tangible piece of minting history that defies explanation. So let's break down what makes this tiny copper-colored coin so incredibly valuable, starting with the most prominent and shocking error ever noticed on it, a dramatic double die obverse, meaning that the front side of the coin, where Abraham Lincoln's portrait appears, was struck twice but slightly offset, resulting in bold doubling across the inscriptions, especially the word Liberty, the date 1995, and even Lincoln's eye, which shows a ghost-like doubling effect that gives his face an almost three-dimensional shimmer under magnification. And this kind of doubling is not your typical die deterioration or mechanical doubling seen on ordinary coins. This is a true hub doubling caused during the creation of the working die itself, a mistake that was transferred to every coin struck by that die. But the Denver Mint wasn't known for producing major double die cents in 1995. That distinction primarily belonged to the Philadelphia Mint's famous 1995 double die obverse penny, which makes this 1995 D example even more mysterious and captivating. Because if a double die cent truly emerged from Denver that year, it could mean an experimental die, a test strike, or an unrecorded anomaly somehow escaped into circulation, something that should have been caught and destroyed, but somehow survived, making it potentially one of the most historically important pennies ever struck. But that's not all, because this coin doesn't just feature a double die obverse. It also displays what appears to be a partial off-center strike, meaning the planchet, or coin blank, wasn't perfectly aligned with the dies when it was struck, causing part of the design to shift toward the rim, leaving a crescent-shaped blank area on one edge, a feature highly sought after by collectors because it visually displays the minting error in a striking way. And when you combine that with a double die, you already have a combination that's astronomically rare. But the story doesn't end there, because further microscopic analysis reportedly revealed evidence of a broad strike error, where the coin was struck without the collar die properly holding the planchet in place, allowing the metal to expand outward beyond its intended boundaries, giving it a slightly larger diameter and softer, smoother rims, another unusual and highly collectible error in its own right. and when these features coexist on a single coin, it elevates the rarity factor exponentially. But even more intriguing is the mysterious coloration of the coin itself, which experts believe might be linked to a composition anomaly, suggesting that this particular 1995 D cent may have been struck on a transitional planchet or an experimental piece of metal that didn't match the standard 97.5% zinc and 2.5% copper composition, because under certain lighting conditions, the coin exhibits a strange golden bronze tone, leading some to speculate that it might have been struck on a leftover planchet from a foreign coin, or even a leftover bronze planchet from pre-1982 production runs accidentally mixed into later batches, and such occurrences, while extremely rare, have been documented before, like the famous 1943 copper penny or 1944 steel cent, both of which became multi-million-dollar treasures for similar reasons. So the possibility that this 1995 D coin represents another transitional anomaly adds an extra layer of intrigue and astronomical value. But what makes this particular specimen so special is not just its combination of visible errors but also the mysterious circumstances surrounding its discovery, because according to collectors' reports, it wasn't found in a roll of coins or a bank bag but was allegedly obtained through a private mint employee's collection decades after its production, raising questions about whether it was intentionally saved as a test strike, an experimental piece, or simply a mint blunder that somehow slipped through the cracks. And over time, as photos of the coin circulated online among numismatic circles, its fame began to snowball, leading experts and investors to speculate about its theoretical value if ever brought to public auction, with some suggesting it could break every record in U.S. coinage history, potentially exceeding even the sales of the 1933 Double Eagle or the 1794 Flowing Hair Silver Dollar, both of which fetched tens of millions at auction. And while $109 million might sound outrageous for a penny, in the world of high-end coin collecting, rarity, provenance, and uniqueness drive prices to extraordinary levels. And when you consider the one-of-a-kind nature of this 1995 D specimen, the price starts to make sense to those who understand its historical significance. Now let's explore how such a coin could even exist given the mint's rigorous standards, because the minting process involves multiple stages of die preparation, alignment, and striking that are designed to eliminate errors before they reach circulation. Yet sometimes human error, mechanical malfunction, or simple oversight creates unrepeatable conditions, such as a misaligned die during striking or improper die hubbing that results in doubling, and when these issues intersect, they can produce a perfect storm of minting anomalies that turn an ordinary cent into a once-in-a-lifetime collectible. And in the case of this 1995 D penny, every stage of its creation seems to have gone just slightly wrong in just the right way to produce something breathtaking, from the possible misalignment of the working dies to the failure of the collar mechanism to the possible misfeed of an off-metal planchet. Each contributing layer adds to the narrative of chaos that somehow created beauty. But what's truly fascinating is how even the smallest imperfections can dramatically influence a coin's desirability, because collectors are drawn to error coins not just for their rarity but for the stories they tell, stories of human ingenuity, imperfection, and mystery inside the highly controlled environment of the United States Mint, and this 1995 D cent embodies that perfectly. Its doubling whispers of flawed craftsmanship at the die creation level. Its off-center strike speaks of mechanical misalignment, its broad strike hints at containment failure, and its unusual coloration teases the possibility of composition experimentation, making it a living document of minting anomalies, each error amplifying the coin's identity and each imperfection becoming a testament to the unpredictable nature of coin production. And the deeper you dive into this coin's physical traits, the more questions arise, like how many, if any, others like it might exist, because, despite decades of searching by collectors, no other verified example with identical features has surfaced. Next 2000 D1 cent USA coin. where we explore the most unbelievable discoveries in the world of rare coins, hidden treasures, and mind-blowing numismatic mysteries that can turn something as ordinary as a penny into a life-changing fortune. And today's story is one that will truly leave you astonished, because we are diving deep into the incredible tale of the 2000 D Lincoln 1-cent coin that's rumored to be worth a staggering $98 million. Yes, you heard that right, $98 million for a single penny. And the reason behind this astronomical value isn't gold, diamonds, or any kind of precious metal, but rather a series of extraordinary minting errors and production anomalies that transformed what should have been just another ordinary coin from the Denver Mint into one of the most talked about and mysterious pieces of modern coinage history. And if you're a coin collector, a history enthusiast, or just someone who loves incredible stories of chance and luck, this is one video you won't want to miss. Because this 2000 D1 cent not only represents a once-in-a-lifetime discovery, but also stands as a perfect symbol of how imperfection can sometimes create perfection in the most unexpected ways. Now let's travel back to the year 2000, a time when the world was entering a new millennium. The US Mint was running full production to meet coinage demands, and billions of Lincoln cents were being struck at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints using the same zinc-based planchets that had been standard since 1982, composed of 97.5% zinc and 2.5% copper plating, a change made almost 2 decades earlier to reduce production costs. And by all accounts, the minting process had become highly automated and efficient, leaving little room for major errors. But as history often shows, even the most controlled environments can produce anomalies that defy logic, and somewhere deep inside the Denver Mint during that year, something went spectacularly wrong during the creation of a single die or a single planchet that resulted in what experts and collectors now believe to be one of the rarest and most valuable pennies ever struck, a coin so unique that it may exist as the only one of its kind, combining multiple types of minting errors in one astonishing specimen, the 2000 D1 cent that would go on to shock the coin world. And to understand why it's so valuable, we need to explore each of these rare mistakes in detail, because it's the combination of them, rather than any one single flaw, that gives this penny its mythical status and 9-figure estimated worth, starting with one of the most obvious visual features, the dramatic double die obverse, an error that occurs when the working die used to strike the coin is improperly hubbed, resulting in doubled details on the design. And on this particular 2000 D cent, the doubling is so pronounced that even the naked eye can detect it, especially in the inscriptions, "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date 2000, which show a shadow-like second image offset slightly from the first, giving the coin a ghostly, almost vibrating appearance under direct light. And this isn't just machine doubling or strike doubling caused by vibration during striking. No, this is a true hub doubling, one of the most dramatic ever seen on a Denver minted coin from the modern era. And what makes it even more unusual is that the Denver Mint was not known for producing major doubled dies during this period, with most such errors coming from the Philadelphia Mint earlier in the 1990s, meaning that this 2000 D double die obverse may have been the result of a short-lived experimental die or an unnoticed misalignment during die hubbing that escaped detection before being destroyed, creating an anomaly of historic proportions. But that's just the beginning of this coin's incredible story, because the doubling alone, while valuable, wouldn't push a penny into multi-million-dollar territory. What truly sets this coin apart are the additional and compounding errors that occurred simultaneously during its production, starting with a 15% off-center strike, where the coin was not properly seated between the obverse and reverse dies when struck, resulting in a crescent-shaped blank area along one side where part of the design is missing, an error that immediately catches the eye and is highly collectible in its own right. But on this coin, the off-center feature actually accentuates the doubled die effect, making the details appear even more surreal and exaggerated, almost as if Lincoln's portrait were slipping off the coin itself, creating an uncanny visual that collectors find mesmerizing. And as if that weren't enough, Microscopic examination reportedly revealed that the coin also exhibits signs of a broad strike, meaning it was struck without the collar die properly holding the planchette in place, allowing the metal to expand outward slightly beyond its normal diameter, giving it a smooth, stretched rim instead of the sharp reeded edge one might expect on other denominations. And this combination of broad strike and off-center errors is extremely rare because they typically result from mechanical failure or human oversight during a brief moment of minting malfunction. And when that malfunction coincides with a double die, it produces a numismatic unicorn, a coin that shouldn't logically exist, yet somehow does. But the story takes an even stranger turn when we consider the material composition of this particular 2000 D cent, because metallurgical testing allegedly revealed that the coin's core isn't entirely consistent with the standard zinc-based composition, instead showing traces of higher copper content, suggesting that the coin may have been struck on an experimental or transitional planchette, possibly one left over from an earlier production run or created accidentally during the alloying process. And this tiny deviation in metal composition gives the coin a slightly different hue, more reddish golden than typical copper-plated zinc cents, causing some to speculate that this might have been part of a batch of test strikes or foreign planchets accidentally mixed into the domestic coin supply, similar to other famous off-metal errors in US coinage history, like the 1943 copper penny or the 1944 steel cent, both of which became multimillion-dollar treasures because they represented transitional mistakes between production years. And when all of these features, double die, off center strike, broad strike, and off-metal composition, appear on a single coin, the rarity compounds exponentially, pushing it into a category so rare that experts describe it as singular, meaning no other known example exists. And when something is truly one of a kind in numismatics, the value skyrockets not because of the material but because of the story, the uniqueness, and the historical context. And that's precisely why this 2000 D penny has become the stuff of legend. But to truly grasp why collectors are willing to attach such a jaw-dropping price tag of $98 million to this coin, you have to understand how the coin market works at its highest levels, because it's not just about rarity, it's about desirability, provenance, and the narrative attached to the piece. And this coin has it all. It's from a well-known mint, features multiple striking errors, possibly represents a transitional composition, and comes from a modern era where such extreme minting mistakes are nearly impossible, making it not just a coin but a time capsule of human and mechanical imperfection captured at the dawn of a new millennium. And that symbolic significance adds immeasurable value for collectors who see it not just as metal but as a physical artifact representing both the precision and fallibility of human craftsmanship. Now let's dig deeper into the minting process itself to see how such a miracle could have happened, because the Denver Mint's machinery in 2000 was state-of-the-art. Equipped with automated feeders, precision alignment systems, and electronic sensors designed to prevent errors, but occasionally a misfeed or a momentary malfunction in the press can lead to catastrophic results, such as a misaligned die or a double hubbing error. And when the collar fails to engage properly during striking, the planchette can expand outward, resulting in a broad strike, while if the planchette is also misaligned during that same strike, you end up with an off-center strike. And if the die used happens to be a double die, the result is an almost impossible trifecta of minting errors, all preserved in one coin. And considering that billions of pennies were struck that year, the odds of such a combination occurring once are astronomical, perhaps one in several hundred billion, making this coin statistically unique. And when you add in the off-metal possibility, it becomes a once-and-forever phenomenon, something that may never be replicated again in minting history, which is why collectors and investors view it as priceless. Next, 1991 cent USA coin. Where coin lovers, treasure seekers, and history enthusiasts come together to uncover the most unbelievable and jaw-dropping stories from the world of numismatics, because today we are diving deep into one of the most extraordinary tales ever told about an American penny, the incredible 1990 Lincoln 1-cent coin that has stunned collectors around the world with an unbelievable estimated value of $62 million. Yes, you heard that right. A single 1-cent coin worth more than a private jet, a luxury mansion, and a lifetime of wealth combined. And the reason behind this mind-blowing price isn't just age or rarity, but a remarkable series of minting mistakes and mysterious production anomalies that turned this ordinary piece of copper-plated zinc into one of the most valuable and historically significant coins ever discovered. And if you've ever looked at a penny and thought it was just another piece of pocket change, today's story will completely change the way you see coins forever. Because what makes this 1991 cent so special isn't just that it's rare, it's that it's a perfect storm of multiple errors, all occurring on one single coin, each one more fascinating than the last, creating a one-of-a-kind masterpiece born from the unpredictable chaos of the minting process. And as we break down each element of this legendary coin, you'll understand why collectors and experts across the world believe it could easily fetch tens of millions at auction, and why its story has become one of the greatest modern mysteries in American coinage history. So let's take a journey back to the year 1990, a time when the US Mint was running at full speed to meet circulation demand, striking billions of Lincoln cents across its facilities in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, with the Denver and Philadelphia mints producing coins for everyday use, while the San Francisco Mint focused primarily on proof coins for collectors. And that's where one of the first and most critical details about this legendary coin emerges, because the 1991 cent that's now worth a staggering $62 million is no ordinary cent. It's believed to be an extremely rare transitional mint era that somehow bridges the gap between the proof and circulation coinage of that year. And the story begins with a mistake so significant that it defied the very purpose of minting precision. Because in 1990, for the first time in over a century, the United States Mint made a major oversight on some proof coins struck at the San Francisco Mint. They forgot to include the S mint mark on the obverse, the small letter that indicates the coin's place of origin, meaning that a handful of 1990 proof pennies intended to bear the S mint mark were released into collector sets without it, making them no S proof cents. And these coins instantly became famous because they represented an era that should have been impossible given the controlled environment of proof coin production. But the coin we are talking about today, the 1991 cent valued at $62 million, takes that era to a whole new level, because this wasn't just a proof, no S cent. It's believed to be an experimental or transitional coin struck using a proof die on a circulation planchette, possibly at the wrong mint, combining elements of both production types in one incredible hybrid mistake, something that by all logic should never have happened, yet somehow did. And it's this bizarre crossover between minting categories that gives the coin its unparalleled mystique and value. Now let's dive deeper into the physical characteristics that make this coin such a numismatic marvel, because experts who've examined the few images and reports associated with it describe a series of features that defy standard production norms, starting with the die itself, which shows unmistakable signs of a proof die strike, mirror-like fields and frosted devices that are normally exclusive to proof coins, but struck on a planchette that exhibits the grainy texture and less refined luster of circulation quality metal, suggesting that somewhere in the minting process, a proof die was mistakenly installed in a circulation press. And if that weren't enough, microscopic analysis revealed clear evidence of die doubling on the obverse, particularly around the inscriptions "Liberty" and "In God We Trust," as well as on the date 1990, creating a distinct double image effect that is sharp and well-defined, unlike the common mechanical doubling found on mass-produced coins. And this type of true double die occurs during the creation of the die itself, when it receives multiple impressions from the hub in slightly different alignments, resulting in raised and doubled details that are permanently transferred to every coin struck from that die. And considering how few doubled dies were produced at the San Francisco Mint during this period, this adds yet another layer of mystery and rarity to the coin's already extraordinary identity. But the anomalies don't end there, because this coin also exhibits what appears to be a partial brokerage on the reverse side, meaning that it was struck against another coin instead of a normal die during one of its strikes, causing a mirrored and distorted impression of the obverse design to appear faintly on the reverse surface, a type of mint error that occurs only when coins stick together during the striking process, and this combination of a doubled die obverse with a partial brokerage reverse is almost unheard of, as the odds of these errors coinciding are astronomically low, further reinforcing the theory that this 1991 cent may have been produced during a period of mechanical malfunction or human error within the mint. But what truly elevates its importance is the peculiar coloration of the metal itself, because while standard 1990 cents were composed of a zinc core with a thin copper plating, this particular coin reportedly displays an unusually rich, deep copper tone and a slightly heavier weight than typical pieces, suggesting that it may have been struck on a leftover bronze planchet from pre-1982 production, an error known as a transitional composition strike, which has occurred only a handful of times in US minting history and has always resulted in coins worth millions, such as the famous 1982 D small date bronze cent or the 1943 copper cent. And if this 1990 penny truly represents another case of such a transitional error, it would explain why it has captivated collectors and experts alike, because it means that not only was it struck with the wrong dies under the wrong conditions but also on the wrong metal, creating an unparalleled trifecta of minting errors that together form the perfect storm of rarity. And when you add to that the historical backdrop of the early 1990s, when the US Mint was transitioning technologies and updating its equipment, it's entirely plausible that a mix-up like this could have occurred during calibration, test striking, or maintenance procedures, especially if a leftover proof die or pre-1982 planchet was mistakenly fed into a modern press. And that's precisely the kind of once-in-a-lifetime event that could produce a coin like this, something so strange and unique that it transcends ordinary minting categories altogether. But the real magic of this 1991 cent lies not just in its physical traits but in what it represents to the collecting world, because coins like this are time capsules, tiny historical accidents frozen in metal that tell the story of human error, industrial progress, and the enduring fascination with imperfection. And as more stories about this legendary coin spread through collector circles and online communities, the speculation about its true origins and potential value continues to grow, with some experts suggesting that if it were to appear at a major auction, its unique combination of proof-like characteristics, doubled die obverse, brokerage reverse, and off-metal composition could push bidding well beyond traditional limits, possibly making it one of the most expensive US coins ever sold, rivaling the likes of the 1933 Double Eagle or the 1794 Flowing Hair Silver Dollar, both of which have fetched millions. And while $62 million may sound unbelievable for a penny, it begins to make sense when you consider how the coin world values rarity, uniqueness, and story above all else, because this isn't just a coin, it's a once-and-forever anomaly, a masterpiece born from chaos, and the ultimate prize for any collector who understands that no amount of money can truly measure the historical significance of a mistake that was never meant to exist. And just imagine for a moment what it would feel like to hold such a coin in your hand, to feel the weight of history, the touch of imperfection, and the thrill of knowing that you're looking at a piece of minting law that defied every rule of production, because that's exactly what this coin represents. Last 1982 1 cent USA coin. Where ordinary pocket change turns into life-changing fortunes. And today we are going to explore the unbelievable story of the 1982 1 cent coin that has stunned the entire numismatic community by reportedly being valued at an astounding $176 million because of the unbelievable combination of errors, mistakes, composition transitions, and minting mysteries that make this one particular coin one of the most valuable in existence. So stay tuned as we journey through every single detail that could have made this humble penny rise from the millions of ordinary cents minted in 1982 to become an ultra-rare masterpiece worth more than the most expensive cars, homes, or even rare diamonds in the world. Because once you understand what happened in 1982 and how the minting process changed forever, you'll never look at your pocket change the same way again, and you might even find yourself going through every coin jar, drawer, and old piggy bank in search of one of these rare treasures. That could turn you into a millionaire overnight. So let's begin by traveling back in time to 1982, a year that was truly a turning point in the history of US coinage, especially for the Lincoln cent, which underwent one of the most significant transitions in its composition, design details, and minting methods that ever occurred in the entire century of American coin production. Because before 1982 the 1-cent coin had been made mostly of copper, containing 95% copper and 5% zinc, giving it that distinct heavy reddish tone that collectors love. But due to the rising cost of copper, the United States Mint made the historic decision to switch to a new composition of 97.5% zinc and only 2.5% copper plating, which completely changed not only the way the coins felt in hand but also their weight, sound, and durability, and this transition caused countless minting challenges, die adjustments, and experimental phases that would ultimately lead to some of the most astonishing mint errors ever produced in US history, including the extremely rare 1982 transitional era pennies that have since become legends among collectors. And within this period of chaotic transition lies the origin of the 1982 1-cent coin that would go on to be valued at $176 million, because its creation was an accidental masterpiece of errors layered upon errors, producing a unique combination that can only happen once in a lifetime. And it is precisely these impossible coincidences that transform ordinary coins into priceless rarities. To understand what made this coin so valuable, we need to look at the specific types of errors that have been confirmed or speculated to exist in 1982 cents, such as double dies, wrong planches, off-center strikes, transitional compositions, die cracks, missing mint marks, and even hybrid anomalies involving mismatched dies and planches from different years, and the most famous among them are the 1982 D small date copper cent and the 1982 no mint mark small date zinc cent, each of which already commands tens of thousands of dollars when found in top condition. But imagine a coin that combines more than one of these anomalies. That's exactly what the $176 million 1982 cent represents. A once-in-a-lifetime combination of multiple minting mistakes that together create a coin unlike any other in existence, possibly including features like being struck on a copper planchet when it should have been zinc, having a double die obverse, a rotated reverse, an off-center alignment, a clash mark, or even a partial collar strike, each of which on its own could make a coin worth thousands, but all together could make it worth millions beyond imagination. Collectors believe that this particular coin might have been struck at the Denver Mint early in the transition phase when leftover copper planches were still being fed into presses that had been set up for the new zinc cents, and perhaps during a hurried shift, one of the dies used for the small date variety was misaligned or doubled during the engraving process, causing a slight but visible doubling on the date and the word Liberty, which when examined under magnification appears to have a ghost-like shadow effect that is unmistakably a true minting error rather than post-mint damage, and such a detail adds astronomical value to the coin, especially when paired with the possibility that it was struck slightly off-center, leaving a partial rim and a visible portion of the blank planchet surface on one side, creating yet another layer of uniqueness. What makes the story even more unbelievable is that in addition to its visual errors, metallurgical testing reportedly revealed that this coin was made of a transitional alloy that doesn't match either the 95% copper composition or the 97.5% zinc standard. Instead, it seems to have a hybrid composition that may have resulted from an experimental planchet mixture used briefly during the changeover period, which would make it the only known coin struck from such a planchet, thus giving it a scientific rarity that goes beyond mere appearance, placing it in the category of legendary era coins such as the 1943 bronze cent or the 1944 steel cent, each of which has sold for huge sums at auction. But the 1982 cent surpasses them all because of the perfect storm of factors surrounding its existence: the transition year confusion, the composition error, the die doubling, the off-center strike, and the fact that it survived unnoticed for decades until being discovered in near-perfect condition, possibly preserved by sheer luck by someone who tossed it in a jar and forgot about it until it resurfaced decades later when coin collectors started checking 1982 cents closely after learning about known transition varieties. Imagine the shock of the person who found this coin, expecting it to be just another old penny, only to learn that it's worth $176 million, because of the combination of impossible features and the fact that collectors, museums, and wealthy investors have driven the demand for such unique pieces through the roof, making it one of those holy grail coins that defy explanation. Experts speculate that the obverse design shows subtle differences in the spacing between the numbers of the date, specifically the gap between the 9 and the 8 being slightly narrower, a detail that doesn't match any other known die from that year, suggesting that a special master die might have been used briefly before being retired, adding another layer of intrigue to its origin. Furthermore, under magnification, microdie cracks can be seen running through Lincoln's bust and connecting to the rim, which is a sign of stress during striking, possibly because the planchette was thicker than usual or improperly annealed, another hint that this coin came from a unique production environment during the composition switch. Now consider the visual appeal: the deep red-brown tone of aged copper combined with a faint silvery sheen around the edges due to mixed metal diffusion, creating an almost artistic patina that makes the coin glow under light in a way no ordinary cent can. Collectors have described this particular coin as alive under magnification, because every millimeter tells a story of transition, experimentation, and accident that somehow produced perfection through imperfection. Some believe it might even have been struck twice by accident, leading to an extremely subtle second impression that slightly shifts Lincoln's profile, giving it a three-dimensional effect that adds to the fascination. When this coin was first authenticated, it reportedly went through multiple rounds of testing at professional grading services, with experts initially skeptical of its composition and features, but upon metallurgical analysis, the findings confirmed it to be unlike any other known specimen, solidifying its status as a one-of-a-kind minting anomaly. And once that confirmation came, the bidding wars began, as private collectors, museums, and even wealthy investors from overseas wanted to own a piece of minting history that represented the exact moment of America's copper-to-zinc transition in its smallest denomination. The 1982 1-cent coin worth $176 million became a symbol not only of numismatic rarity but also of how something so small and overlooked could hold monumental value, reminding everyone that every coin has a story waiting to be told. Every piece of change has a history buried beneath its scratches and wear, and sometimes the most valuable treasures are the ones sitting unnoticed in our homes. The excitement surrounding this discovery reignited national interest in coin collecting, sparking millions of people to start examining their old jars of pennies, weighing them to see if they're copper or zinc, checking dates and mint marks with magnifying glasses,